Your brain is not broken. It is trained. And right now it is being trained by social media. Not occasionally, constantly. The longer the exposure, the deeper the pattern. And most of it happens without awareness. The Silverback watches the pattern form. He opens the app at 9:12. At 9:14, he sees someone more successful. At 9:16, he scrolls faster. At 9:18, he forgets what he intended to do. Nothing dramatic happened, and yet direction disappeared. This is not a lack of discipline. This is conditioning. So the real question is not whether social media is distracting. The real question is what it is doing to the brain over time. Truth 1. Attention is being fragmented. The Silverback does not see distraction as random. He sees repetition. Every scroll trains the brain to expect novelty. Every short clip shortens the attention window. Every switch between apps teaches the brain that stability is optional. So the brain adapts. It stops holding focus for long periods. It starts scanning instead of thinking. It prefers speed over depth. The monkey believes he lost focus. The Silverback sees something else. Focus was not lost. It was replaced. Replaced by a pattern of constant interruption. He opens a task. 2 minutes later, he checks a notification. 1 minute later, he switches tabs. 30 seconds later, he forgets the original task. Nothing is finished. Everything is started. This is not inefficiency. This is fragmentation, and fragmentation has a cost. Deep thinking disappears. Memory weakens. Decisions become reactive. Because the brain can only go as deep as the attention it is trained to hold. The Silverback observes something deeper. Even when the monkey removes the phone, the pattern remains. The mind searches for interruption. It creates it. It opens new tabs. It invents reasons to check something. Because the brain is no longer comfortable with sustained focus. Silence feels empty. Stillness feels wrong. The absence of stimulation feels like something is missing. The monkey confuses this feeling with boredom. The Silverback recognizes it as withdrawal from constant stimulation. So the monkey reaches again, not because he needs to, but because he was trained to. This is no longer a conscious choice. It is an automatic response loop. Truth 2. Dopamine is being hijacked. The Silverback does not chase motivation. He studies reward. Social media compresses reward cycles, fast content, endless novelty, immediate stimulation. The brain spikes dopamine again and again, and then it crashes. The monkey feels this as low energy. The Silverback sees the pattern. Spike, crash, scroll again. Spike again. The brain begins to expect constant stimulation. Normal activities feel slow. Work feels boring. Progress feels unrewarding. So the monkey delays. Not because he is lazy, but because his reward system has been recalibrated. He sits down to work. After 2 minutes, the brain searches for something faster, something easier, something more stimulating. The task is not difficult. It is just not stimulating enough. So he escapes. Again and again and again. And something shifts underneath. The baseline drops. What once felt engaging now feels flat. What once required focus now feels exhausting. The brain is not only chasing stimulation, it is losing sensitivity to normal reward. This is why progress starts to feel empty. This is why effort feels heavier than it should. This is why, even after a productive day, something still feels off. So the real danger is not time wasted, it is motivation destroyed. If the brain expects constant reward, how will it tolerate slow progress? Truth 3. Self-image is being distorted. The Silverback does not exaggerate identity. He observes perception. Every comparison sends a signal. This is where you stand. Scroll enough, and the brain starts measuring constantly. He sees better results, faster progress, cleaner routines, and something subtle shifts. Not identity collapse, but perceived inferiority. I am behind. I am not there yet. I am not moving fast enough. The monkey does not question these signals. He absorbs them. Repeated comparison lowers perceived self-efficacy. Action feels less effective before it even starts. He opens Instagram at 7:03. At 7:05, he is comparing. At 7:07, his confidence drops. At 7:10, he reduces effort. Nothing external changed, but internal expectations did. Expectation shapes behavior. Less risk, less effort, less consistency. Not because ability is gone, but because belief in impact is weakened. Over time, this becomes hesitation. The monkey still wants progress, but acts smaller than he could. The silverback sees the real danger. Not distraction, but reduced self-trust. Now the pattern is clear. Attention fragmented, dopamine hijacked, self-image distorted. None of this feels extreme, and that is why it works. He opens the app for just a minute. At 6:58, he checks one notification. At 7, he scrolls. At 7:02, he feels behind. At 7:05, he abandoned his own direction. Nothing forced him. He drifted. The silverback sees the real cost. Not the lost minutes, but the lost direction. Not the wasted time, but the weakened standard. Because every small drift compounds. One distracted morning becomes a distracted day. One distracted day becomes a distracted week, and over time, distraction becomes default behavior. The silverback does not blame the tool. He studies the behavior. The app does not control the brain. Repetition does. So the solution is not emotional. It is structural. Remove the app from the first hour. Delay the first scroll. Create before consuming. Interrupt the pattern early. Make the right behavior easier and the wrong behavior harder. Install an app blocker and remove your own access to override it. Replace the first scroll with 10 minutes of writing, reading, or planning. Track controlled mornings with a visible streak so the brain sees progress. Studies show that even 1 week of reduced usage can improve attention by up to 30% and begin stabilizing the brain's reward system. Because once the loop starts, the brain follows automatically. The monkey wants motivation. The silverback enforces structure because structure protects attention, and protected attention rebuilds confidence, and confidence compounds. One controlled morning becomes 2. 2 become a pattern. The brain slowly relearns depth. Tolerance for effort returns. Focus stabilizes. Not instantly, but inevitably. At first it feels unnatural. The monkey reaches for the phone and stops, reaches again and stops. The urge is still there, but something new begins to form. Control. And control builds confidence, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself. That is where the shift begins. Not in motivation, not in feeling, in behavior repeated under resistance. And over time, something else happens. The urge weakens. The need for constant stimulation fades. The brain begins to tolerate stillness again. Focus returns in longer stretches. Work starts to feel possible again. And then the gap appears. While others keep scrolling, he keeps building. While others react, he directs. While others compare, he compounds. The difference is not talent. It is protection of attention. So the decision is simple. Either the brain is trained intentionally, or it is trained by default. There is no neutral. The next scroll is not harmless. It is a vote, and enough votes shape behavior. The silverback does not negotiate with that. He cuts the pattern early, before it becomes permanent. Because once patterns solidify, change requires more force than prevention. So the line is clear. Control the input, or give up control. Choose.